Hey guys, Saleh. OpenAI just released GPT-5. Now, I've been waiting for this model for more than a year, but as always, what we care about on this channel is the performance of these models for algo trading, specifically for writing strategies in Python, debugging, and whether or not these models have some actual trading knowledge to help us improve the result of our strategies. So in this video, we're going to test this model. If that sounds good, let's get right into it. Alright, so it's been just a few minutes since they released the model and this blog post, and according to the benchmark they are releasing here, this model is beating even the O3 model, which was supposed to be really good. And on the Aider Polyglot benchmark, you can see that it is scoring 88%. That is absolutely crazy. So if I'm not mistaken, this is even beating Claude Opus. And the price of this model is significantly cheaper than Claude. So if it is as useful as the benchmarks are claiming here, then it's gonna be awesome. So let's get to testing it. Now, for this video, I'm gonna use JesseGPT, which is the cloud-based service specifically made for algo trading in Python. So it gives us access to these models, such as GPT-5 or any other models, but it has some instructions for algo trading specifically. Signing up on this service is completely free, but if you don't want to use this service, let's say you have some privacy concerns, or maybe you want to use the premium models, but you don't want to pay us anything, that is perfectly fine. For that, come and check out this video on my channel where I show you how you can self-host this service all by yourself. So all the instructions are open source, so you can make this all by yourself. But I'm gonna use JesseGPT, which is just more convenient for me. Now we're gonna ask 10 questions from the model. So let's begin. Now, by the way, make sure the OpenAI GPT-5 is selected. We also added support for GPT-5 Mini. Right, write a golden cross strategy that uses the 50 and 100 moving averages. Close the position when the integer rule is no longer valid. All right, so it did write it, but the formatting is a bit off. So this is the first time I'm seeing this. All right, so let's go to Jesse's dashboard and create a new strategy, and I'm gonna name it Test GPT-5 and paste the whole thing here. Now the formatting is a bit off. I don't know why this happened. So I'm gonna fix this manually. All right, so I believe this should work. Okay, so let's give it a read. So it defined a moving average with the syntax ta.sma for an SMA with the period of 50. By the way, this should also be like this. It defined another one with the period of 100. It passed the current candles, which is the correct syntax in Jesse. It defined a property for trend, return 1 if the moving average 50 is above 100, otherwise -1 for a downtrend. So that's perfect. The shoe long function, which is the into rule of the strategy, is simply if the current trend is 1. And then in the go long, which is where we do the position sizing, it's first determining the quantity using the size to quantity utility function of Jesse. It is passing the entire balance and then the entry price, which is the current price. So this is correct. Then to submit the actual buy order is saying self.buy equals quantity and then the current price. So this is going to execute a market order. It is not shorting, which we didn't ask, and it's also listening to this part where we said, stop the position or trade if that condition is no longer valid. So in the update position, which is called when we already have an open position and a new candle has closed, it is checking if the current trend is -1 or a downtrend, then liquidate the current position. So this is perfect. So let's go and run it. So let's change this into test GPT-5, and this time frame, symbol, and period is fine. Let's also enable the fast mode. There we go. So this is perfect. All right, next, convert this Pine script strategy into Python. All right, so for this part, I'm gonna need a strategy. So on TradingView, I will look up super trend strategy, and to get the source code of it, I will click here, go back and paste the whole thing. All right, so by the way, guys, the GPT-5 couldn't get this process done. I don't know why. Maybe it's because they had just released the model and the API is heavy. I don't know. But I had to change the model from GPT-5 into GPT-5 Mini in order for it to just go through. So, I mean, if this is going to be a pass, GPT-5 should definitely be a pass, right? Because this is a smaller model. Now, let's see if it works at all. And it does. Okay, so this is really cool. Okay, so this is a pass. Now let's change it back into GPT-5 again. All right, next, develop a mean reversion strategy using the Bollinger Bands and the RSI with the 7 period. All right, there we go. So let's copy the whole thing, update the code, and run the backtest again. There we go. So this is a perfect pass. Now, by the way, let's take a look at the code. So it defined the Bollinger Bands with the syntax ta.Bollinger Bands, and then it passed the current candles with a period of 20. It knows this is the default, and it's also telling us about it in the comment. So this is pretty cool. Next, it defined the RSI 7, simply ta.RSI. It passed the current candles, and the second parameter, which is the period, is 7. The ATR, ta.ATR, perfect syntax of Jesse framework. Then it defined the integer rules. It's saying if the current price is below the lower band of the Bollinger Bands and the RSI 7 is below 30, you should go long. The opposite for short positions. And as for position sizing, it's saying the entry is the current price, the stop is the entry minus 2.5 times of the current ATR. As for the quantity, it's using the risk to quantity utility function, is passing the current available margin, 2% risk per each trade, the entry price, stop, and then the current fees of the current exchange, and then it's submitting the buy order. So it's doing the opposite for short position. So this is perfect typical strategy. Then it's saying once the position is open, if it's a long position, submit the stop loss and take profit. For the quantity, use the current position's quantity, and for the price, use the entry price of the current position minus 2.5 times the ATR. And for take profit, we want to use the middle band of the Bollinger Band. So this is a perfect 101 mean reversion strategy in Python. As for update position, if it's a long position and the current price is above middle band or the RSI is above 50, we want to liquidate the position, and the opposite if it's a short position. Right, so perfect. It also defined some values for the chart so we can debug the strategy easier. So this seems perfect. Now, it was a pass, so let's go and give it a perfect 10. Next, write a strategy that uses Fibonacci retracement levels for entry and exit points. All right, so again, it failed, and I'm guessing it's because the API is under a lot of load right now. So again, I'm trying with GPT-5 Mini because I believe this model is also really good. And you know, if this model gets it right, then we know GPT-5 will definitely get it right. Now, another interesting thing is that the model is super fast. Like, I haven't seen anything this fast. All right, so let's paste it. Now, it defined the hyperparameters. So it is assuming that we want to do optimization. That's fine. It defined the highs as the current candles, and then it is selecting a certain number of them. So it defined a look back, and the default value for it is 100. So that makes perfect sense. And then it is select the high values of the current candles. So this is the correct syntax and index in Jesse. For low, it is 4. And then swing high is the max of these max values. Swing low is the low of these, the min of these low values. The range is swing high minus swing low if swing high is bigger than swing low, otherwise 0. Okay, so I guess this makes sense. Now, here's the important part. It defined the fib levels as range equals self-dot range, h equals self-dot swing high, l equals swing low, and then the magical numbers of Fibonacci. So this is also really interesting syntax, how it is simply returning a dictionary, and then it's saying high minus low multiplied by these numbers. So this is very beautiful and easy to read math. Then it defined two moving averages with periods of fast and slow. So we can find these values here. So 50 and 200. Then define the ATR, the trend. So it's using the moving averages for the trend. And then it's getting the nearest fib. And in the should long, we're saying if the current trend is not 1, return false. So, okay, so I didn't have to do this. I don't usually do it like this. It could just simply put it here. But anyways, so this is perfectly fine. And then it's saying if the current price is below the current level plus TOL, which is the entry tolerance, and this. Okay, so this is really beautiful. It's already prepared for optimization, and it also makes sense. So I think this is the best that I've seen so far, even though this is GPT Mini. So yeah, this is really good. So let's run it. And it goes through and it's perfect. I mean, it's not even performing that bad, like, because, you know, with these strategies, the raw version of them. Because they take so many trades, they lose a lot of money in these type of tests, but this one isn't losing that much, and I consider this a good result. All right, that's a perfect 10. Next, update my code to display the values of important indicators of my strategy in backtest for debugging purposes. All right, so for this one, we're gonna need a strategy to give it, and I'm selecting one from our website. I'm copying the code and pasting it here. And I will also remove this part because this is actually what we expect the model to give us. Now, let's give it another try with GPT-5. And it didn't work again, so let's try with GPT-5 mini again. All right, so let's copy it. Update the code, and let's give it a read. So it defined the after method, just like we asked it to do. It put it inside a try catch block, which is good practice actually. It is using add line to candle charts method of Jesse. It's giving it the name of the Tema indicator, once for Tema 10 and then Tema 80, so this is great. It defined 2 more times for Tema in the 4-hour time frame. Then it is defining extra line charts for ADX and CMO, and it's putting both of them inside the same chart. So this actually makes perfect sense because both of them have values from 0 to 100. And then it defined the threshold lines of these indicators. So this is very beautiful, guys. It's also doing some logging here. Now, I didn't ask it to do that, but maybe because we mentioned debugging, it also added this. So this is pretty beautiful. So let's give it tries to see if it runs well. Now, I should have enabled the generate interactive charts. So let's give it one more go. Now, there we go. So we can see the Tema lines. They are beautiful and they make sense. And here we can see the values for ADX and also the CMO. Now this green isn't really visible on the dark mode. Now we could also specifically ask for a certain color when we define it with that function. Otherwise, Jesse will just randomly assign a color to it. So don't worry about this much, but this seems perfect. By the way, in my previous test, I've seen many models not being able to do a great job with this question. So the fact that GPT-5 mini model is doing a perfect job is really awesome. All right, next, write a trend following strategy that uses 15 minutes time frame for entry and 4 hours time frame for confirmation. I believe GPT-5 mini should also nail this one, so I don't think we even need the bigger model. So in fact, this model seems to be so good that I'm going to set this as a default model for new users because not only is cheap, it's also really great and really fast. All right, so let's copy the whole thing. Update our code. Now, by the way, I've seen this before. Sometimes it adds an extra py here, which breaks the execution. So let's remove that one. All right, so it defined the big candles as a separate property using the get candles method of Jesse, passing the current exchange symbol and the 4 hours time frame, which is what we asked for. It defined it like this so that later it can use it twice. So that makes perfect sense. It already prepared the strategy for optimization as well. And then it defined an ADX filter saying that the current ADX must be above the threshold. Now let's see what's the value for it. So by default, it is 25. Okay. And next, it defined the into rule of the strategy as the big EMA short must be above big EMA long. So we're waiting for a crossover basically. And then the EMA short must also be above EMA long and ADX must be okay. So this okay word that it added at the end of it kind of clarifies that this is a filter, and I actually like that. So everything else seems fine. Let's go and give it a test, and it runs perfectly. So again, this is a perfect 10. Now, no model so far had gotten a perfect 10 score on the first 6 questions. So far, this is beating everything. All right, next, here's a quote from my trend following strategy in the 15 minutes time frame. The strategy is losing money because it is taking too many trades and there are too many false breakouts during the ranging markets, please improve the strategy. So we're talking about this same strategy that he just wrote for us. You see it's losing money. Now, by the way, I didn't execute it on the 15 minutes. So let's do this. Let's also disable the charts so that it would go a little bit faster. All right, so you see it's losing a lot of money. Why? Because it's taking too many trades. So 561, which is too much because we're paying a lot of money in trading fees. So if we add these fees into here, we will end up profitable, right? But we are going to have trading fees in actual trading. So we need some filters to only take the good trades to prevent false breakouts, right? So with this question, what I want to test is to see if the model has some actual trading knowledge to know about this, to what to do in these type of situations. So let's go back and copy this code, and I'm gonna paste it here. All right, there we go. So let's copy this, go back, paste it again, and remove this extra py. And let's take a look. So this is a should long, our entry rule. So it defines a couple of filters. So one is recent trend gap okay. So let's see what this is. All right, so it's checking if the current index minus the last 30 index is bigger than a certain number. So it's basically checking to see some time has passed since our last trade. So this makes perfect sense because sometimes, especially in trend following strategies, we try to scalp a certain trend and we do this a couple of times, but sometimes maybe after 2 or 3 times that trend is about to finish, right? So it's a good idea to say that, okay, if you took already 2 trades very fast, then don't take a trade for at least 10 more candles. So I've seen this in practice, so this is great. It also defined another filter called breakout confirmed long. So it's checking to see if the ATR multiplied by a certain number plus the current Donchian's upper band is below the price. So to put it simply, we're using the Donchian channel and we want to make sure that the current price has broken above that. Next, it did the opposite for short trades. And then we also have one volatility filter. So let's see how's this one. So it defined the BBW, which is Bollinger Band's weight, and it needs its value to be above a certain value. So this is also really good because when we are in a range market, the value for the Bollinger Band's width tends to be low. So this is also a great one. And the next one is ADX, which is simply if the ADX is bigger than its threshold. All right, so it defined 2 ADX for both the current trading time frame and the bigger time frame. So this is really great. All right, so this is perfect. Even if it doesn't run, I'm gonna give it a good score, but I believe it should. Okay, I think I forgot to save the code. All right, so let's save it this time and go back and run it again. There we go. So now it only took 9 trades instead of that many, and it's not losing as much. The drawdown is also pretty good. Okay, so it's not profitable, but it didn't take as many trades, and I really like the filters that it defined. Okay, so this is another perfect 10, and guys, this is GPT-5 mini, not the bigger model. All right, next, define a strategy that combines the Williams percentage R, MACD, and Bollinger Bands. Now, considering what it did with the previous questions, I think this is a very easy one for this model. And you see how it just appeared? So it is really fast. So apparently it's a thinking model. So it does some reasoning and then it outputs the result almost instantly. So that's pretty helpful. Okay, so let's copy it. Okay, so let's paste it. It defined the Williams R with this syntax, which is correct. The MACD is correct. Bollinger Bands, the ATR. And for the entry rules, it's getting the upper, middle, and lower band from the current Bollinger Bands. So this is also correct. And then it's checking if the current closing price is below the lower band and the Williams R is below a certain threshold and the MACD's His is above 0. Okay, so this seems perfect. Let's go back and give it a try. And there we go. Okay, so this is Again, a perfect 10. Now, still, it is beating all the other models so far. All right, next, write the entry functions of the strategy for me in a way that it should use 2 limit orders for opening the position, and it should only risk 2% of capital per trade. So I want to see whether or not it will just give me the functions, not the whole strategy, because sometimes you need one specific function for your strategy. You want to copy and paste it and use it very quickly. So a model which prints out extra stuff isn't really useful in these type of cases. And also I want to see if it is able to use the correct syntax for opening the position using multiple orders, so not just one market order like all the previous questions. All right, so it did give it to us, but it's not pretty. The formatting is incorrect, so let's ask it to fix it. All right, so let's see if it will fix it. Okay, it didn't. So this isn't great because it's gonna be a bit hard for me. Now, I don't know why this is happening, but here's the thing. This might be just on our website. So I'm not sure if I should subtract points from the model because of this. All right, but just in case, let's just copy this whole thing. Go to ChatGPT and I will simply ask it to fix the formatting, please. And I didn't even write it correctly. And let's see what it will give me. Okay, so this is an easy task for ChatGPT and, hard for humans to manually fix something. Okay, so it's defining the current ATR. It defined 1 entry and 2, and it's using the ATR for setting the price, and then it defined the stop price. Okay, so this is all good. It is using risk to quantity utility function of Jesse. So this is the correct syntax for risking 2% per each trade with Jesse. So it's even defining the precision, which usually the other models didn't. They just went with the default. Now the default value is fine, but this is interesting. Then it defined the 2 quantities, and it's also ensuring the quantities are bigger than 0. So this is also good practice, but not necessarily at all. And at the end, it is submitting both orders using this syntax. So instead of giving it just one tuple of values, it defined one list, and inside it defined 2 tuples. So first the quantity and then the price. So this is perfect. And it did actually just give us the functions. So I'm going to give it a pass. All right, so last question, write a pair trading strategy for ETH and BTC. Now, because this is a tough one, I want to give GPT-5 another try. Okay, so it failed again. Now, again, guys, by the time you're watching this video, this issue has probably been fixed, so don't worry about it much. But I'm gonna try it with GPT-5 Mini because so far it was able to solve all the questions and it got a perfect 10 for all of them. So maybe it will get this one right too. Now, before I continue, I gotta say, this is a tough one because it's a pairs trading strategy and the model is supposed to define 2 classes. The first class is the one that has all the trading logic in it, and the second one is simply a follower class because it needs to execute the decisions that the master strategy class has made for it. And the code of it is also a bit complex. So if you're not familiar with pairs trading, go ahead and watch this previous video of mine called Pairs Trading Strategy from Scratch in Python, where I go through the basic math and coding behind this strategy. But anyways, let's copy and see if this will work. Okay, so I'm gonna define a new strategy and call it test GPT pair 1. And this is the follower, so we don't need this one. Now this seems perfect. It defined hyperparameters. Okay, so this might be an issue because you see when we use multiple trading routes, we don't do optimization on it. So I don't know if this will work, but it's not really the model's fault, I guess. Let's make sure this is saved and then define the second one, test GPT pair 2, paste the whole thing. And this time I only want this second class. So let's paste it. And this also seems fine to me. Okay, so let's run it. The first one is BTC, the second one is ETH. And let's change this to be hourly. Test GPT pair 1 and test GPT pair 2. All right, and we also need to disable the fast mode because we're trading multiple trading routes. There we go. So yeah, it works. Now it's losing a lot of money. It doesn't matter because it took so many trades. You're paying a lot in trading fees, which is also a typical issue with the pair trading strategy. And that wasn't really what I was looking for. So the fact that it wrote it fine and it works means it will get a perfect 10. Now look at this, it got a perfect 100 score. And let's not forget, for most questions, I use GPT-5 mini, not even the GPT-5 itself, which was supposed to be the model we were going to test in this video, right? So even the smaller model is nailing all the questions. And guys, to give you a comparison, the Grok 4 model, when I ran the same test, it scored 85. Now, the second question wasn't running, so even if we gave it a perfect 10 here, still the ending result would have been 95. And the Claude 4 Sonnet, which to this day was my go-to coding model, wasn't able to answer all the questions. Now, back then, we weren't using a number-based system, but still 3 of the questions were failed. So again, the GPT-5 mini model, according to my tests, is beating not only Grok 4, big model, and it's also beating Claude 4 Sonnet. This is crazy because GPT-5 mini is extremely cheap. And not only that, right now I'm wondering if this model is so good, how good is GPT-5 itself? So yes, according to these tests, we didn't even get to need a bigger model, but one day we will, right? So let's say you are really stuck and GPT-5 mini isn't able to help you. In that day, GPT-5 is going to be even better. So just wow, like I don't know what to say. Great job, OpenAI. You guys really surprised us, and I'm glad the wait was worth it. So anyways, if you guys want me to make more videos like this, please like the video, post a comment, let me know your opinion, and subscribe to the channel. It will help me out a lot. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.